Just a week after our wedding, my relationship with Thane took a nosedive. He told me to leave. And for 5 days, we haven't spoken a word. Every day, he sneaks in to leave flowers but never apologizes. Until that day, he finally showed up with a bouquet and a face full of exhaustion. Can we mend our broken relationship? Chapter 32, Little Warrior. It's officially been a week since our wedding and 5 days since I've last spoken to Thane. After he told me to leave and go to his parents' house, I haven't seen him. I told his mother that I never wanted to see him again, and I stood by my word. Every morning he would sneak into the house and leave flowers for me. On the 3rd day here, I woke up to puke my guts out, and by the time I went back to bed, he came into the room. He thought I was asleep, but I was very much awake as he laid the flowers beside me, gave me a gentle kiss on the forehead and left. That day was the worst. The only day I puked was the day Thane killed Ian. But 2 days ago, it came back with a vengeance. The last 2 mornings were the worst, as I constantly had to rush to the bathroom. To make things worse, the dreams persisted. Every time I closed my eyes and slipped into sleep, it was always the same. Thane dies. The scenery would change, or I would be rendered powerless in some other way. But it always remained the same. Jake would shoot Thane, and I would watch him die. Each day went by with Anne, Jane, and even sometimes Teddy and Thomas keeping me company. Caroline and Bailey would pop by sometimes, but since Bailey was pregnant she couldn't shift to get here, and Caroline was busy training. According to everyone, Thane increased their training more than he did when there were increased threats of rogue attacks. I haven't left the house in the 5 days that I've been here, but everyone assured me that the pack was all right and believed I was innocent in this whole mess. Maybe my character did persist and everyone knew who I really was. Yet Thane cowed and even listened to me. But in good news, Jane was all right. She hadn't left that day. Anne came into the pack and she decided to stay here until everything blows over. However, no matter who came by during the day to distract me, the nights were always the worst with the nightmares. Every time I fell asleep I would be woken up in a scream by Anne. She looked as if my dreams and bad health were affecting her as well, and I knew she was worried. She's been trying to nurse me back to health, but I think the only medication I needed was a dose of Thane. Though every night when I get up due to my recurring nightmare, I could hear a loud howling sound coming from beyond the forest in the backyard, and I knew within me that it was Thane. I could feel his anxiousness through our mate bond, but he never once came to check up on me, which I felt bittersweet about since I needed him, yet he still haven't apologized or reached out to me. But I guess I still haven't told him the truth. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It was like he was around to hear me out. On that faithful 5th day, however, the rain stopped falling and the sun was out, but there weren't any flowers left for me. I was disappointed, but I guess I had to get used to the disappointment when it came to Thane. My sickness was also at its worst that day. I was currently cradling the toilet bowl as I spilled my guts out. I don't even know how I could be this sick when I haven't even been eating that much, and was holding my hair back for me as I vomited for the 2nd time that morning. She's really been taking care of me as if I was her own child. When my stomach settled for a few minutes, she said, "I'll be right back, dear." All I could do was nod my head as I wiped the sweat off my forehead. Through the open bathroom door, I could hear little Thomas and Teddy questioning their mum about my health. "Is she going to be all right?" Teddy asked. "Is she dying?" Thomas followed up. I heard and laughed as she answered the boys. "Emery is just a bit sick right now, but she'll be better in no time." "How do you know for sure, Mom?" Thomas queried with worry laced in his voice. "Because I'm your mom. I just know things," she explained. "But why is she sick, Mom?" Teddy innocently asked. "Because she's just missing your brother. There may be some truth to that. Then why doesn't Thane make her get better?" Thomas sounded angry. There was a moment of silence as he contemplated what he said. "Then it's been a meanie to Emery and he haven't apologized to her yet. That's why he isn't here to make her feel better. But I'm sure he'll make her feel better soon. Hopefully not, because hell just grew and my already sour mood." "Did he also make her cry?" Teddy quietly asked. "I'm afraid he did," and she mumbled regretfully. She must have heard me during the night because I tried to keep myself together whenever I was around someone. I'm going to kick his butt. Thomas suddenly yelled as I heard him ran off. I'm kicking his butt first though, my Teddy voice followed as I soon he ran behind his brother. My protectors. I heard him leave the room as well as I just sat on the bathroom floor, praying I don't puke again. My prayers were thankfully answered. I sat there for a good 10 minutes without wanting to hurl, and it brought me up some crackers to munch on while I waited, but when I didn't get back sick, I told her I was okay alone since she said something about running errands. I cleaned myself up and realized that I was running low on clothing. And by running low, I meant I only had a pair of sweatpants and one of the shirt left. After a bathe, I pulled on my clothing before going back to a secret treasure I found. It was an very old iPod. I found it on my second day here when I was exploring his room. His taste in music was particularly indie, but when I listened to his private music collection, I felt like I was close to him again. The thing I love and miss. Just listening to his favorite tunes brought a sense of tranquility to me. Pressing play and sticking earphones on, I went down to the laundry room so that I would have clean clothing. To be frank, I didn't expect to be here this long. I softly bobbed my head to a song while I offloaded my clothing into the machine before pouring some liquid detergent. I pressed start and turned towards the door, but I dropped the wash basket in fright. Thane was standing in the doorway with a solemn expression and his chocolate brown eyes were focused intently on me. Looks like he fighted to make an appearance. He just stood there, with flowers in his hands while staring at me as I glanced back at him in bewilderment. He looked different now. The bags under his eyes were prominent and he appeared to have lost a few pounds, which was probably exactly how I appeared and felt. His feet shuffled towards me and I quickly picked up my basket and sidestepped him and walked out of the laundry room. I left the earphones on as I ignored his presence following me to his room. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He called for my attention, but I was having none of it as I marched upstairs. Can we talk? I rolled my eyes at that. Now he wanted to talk. If he wanted salvation, he wasn't getting it from me anytime soon. As soon as I spotted his room door, I made it rush for it and tried to close the door, but he grabbed the edge of the door and pried it open with his hands. I backed away as he slowly approached me. Just give me a chance. Please. He pleaded with me. I gave him an incredulous look and removed the headphones. Give you a chance? Like you gave me one. His eyes looked tormented. Please. I know I messed up, but I can't live without you anymore. I felt all his emotions consuming me and chipping away at my heart, which was already fragile and glued together. Well, you should have thought about Baba before you kicked me out of our home. I exploded. I didn't mean, yes you did. You have been nothing but selfish in all of this. You didn't listen to me. You didn't consider what I wanted. I shoved at his shoulders and he let me. You broke my heart, Thane, and I don't think I can forgive you for that. He grabbed me wrist and held both my hands to his chest where I could feel his heart beating erratically. I know I messed up, okay. I pried my hands away from his grip and sat down on the bed as I looked out the large window at the sunny sky, which I missed almost as much as Thane. Instead of addressing our dilemma, he looked at his iPod in my hands. I see you found my old playlist. It was the only way I felt close to you. I admitted. And you're wearing my clothes. I did notice I was missing a few t-shirts. I could tell he was trying to lighten up the mood, but our unresolved issues still loomed over us. They're comfortable. I shrugged in indifference. I heard him sigh as he switched tactics. My mom said you're sick. She's been keeping me updated on your health, but she said this morning you were exceptionally ill. So you're only here because your mom sent for you. We're married, Thane. We aren't children anymore for you to depend on your mother. I know, he dejectedly muttered. I was coming to make amends today anyways. It was just because my mother said you were sick. When I remained silent, he went on. She didn't exactly went into details on how you were sick, but I suspect my mom knows more than she's leading on. How are you feeling, sweetheart? How am I feeling? I repeated the question with distaste. Let's see. My husband wouldn't listen to anything I have to say. He told me to leave our home. Archie has been sending me mixed signals with all these flowers and he didn't speak to me for the last 5 days. So let's just say it hasn't exactly been my finest moment. You have the world's biggest asshole for a husband, he mumbled. He was that bad up until he killed my friend. I dared to say. Silence engulfed us as tension plagued the air. I shouldn't have done what I did. I was a bit taken aback by his change of direction, but I listened to him nonetheless. Though I didn't dare look up at him. And I know I messed up. Hell, I fucked up majorly and I treated you like you weren't important to me. But you're the most important thing in my life, Emery, and I was afraid. He dropped to his knees right before me and gently took my shaking hands into his own. When I found out that a human came into the pack, I was scared because it was your ex-boyfriend. Someone you had a connection with. I don't know how close you two were, but jealousy tore at my heart. The thought of a war between our races didn't even scare as much as the woe of losing you. His voice broke before he continued. I was afraid that they would take you away from me, but I did that on my own. I let you go when I should have held you closer. I was so angry at myself for letting a human slip through the cracks and find us. I just wanted someone else to blame because this is the first time a human ever got into our pack. So I blamed you instead of listening. I tensed up at what he said, but he rubbed his thumbs on the inside of my wrists. I should have listened to you from the start and known that you weren't to kill any wolves. So then why didn't you? You made everyone believe that I was the bad guy. It was my intentions. I was just so angry. I didn't want to believe that what the human said was right. But as the alpha, I had to do what everyone expected of me. They all knew what happened and I couldn't just sit back and let him live after what he and his friend was planning. So it's going to be like that from now on. You're going to kill innocent people because of my wrongdoings. I admit I should have told you before, but you didn't exactly listen to me that day anyways. Are you just going to forget about what I have to say? I asked in frustration. No. He growled sharply. I didn't mean to kill him in front of you. You have to believe me. I thought Bo and Lucas had already pulled you away from there. My wolf's anger consumed me to the point that I cowled into him. My judgment was clouded, and I should have kept him alive a little longer, but the pack would have teared him apart had they known I left him alive. But that's exactly what you did. You tore his body to shreds right in front of my eyes. I spat out in rage. I saw my friend's life drain from his eyes, all because you couldn't control your anger. He was your friend, Emery. Couldn't you see that with the way he looking at all of us? As if he wanted to kill every last wolf that existed. He wanted to kill me, my family, everyone in this pack. I yanked my hands away from him and stood up. They're my family too. And don't you think I know that? I don't want anyone to die, Thane. Especially not our family. The family that's been taking care of me since you hate me so much that you threw me with them. I didn't tell you to leave because I hate you. You know that I don't hate you. He growled lowly and I could feel the anger radiating off of him. And I was going to sacrifice a wolf. You should have known that. I retorted as he raised to his full height. He ignored what I said and whispered. I told you to leave because you didn't want me anymore. If you actually believed that, then why are you here? Because I love you. He threw his hands up in frustration. Don't you see how much I'm in love with you? We're married for fuck's sake. But when you gave me your ring that night, he clutched at his hair in frustration. I thought that was it. That you didn't want me anymore. You said you couldn't do it anymore and I didn't know what to do. You broke my heart, sweetheart, and you have no idea how much it pains me to know that you resent me and that we haven't spoken in 5 days. I know I've hurt you and I haven't done a single thing to help, but I thought you needed space away from me. I could feel the agony that he felt, but I couldn't give in so easily. I should have listened, I should have apologized sooner, but most importantly I should have known you didn't do it. But what I should have done and what I did are opposite things, and I don't expect you to forgive me. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't look at the completely broken expression on his face. I turned away from him and hoped that he walked away before I broke down. I'm sorry everything went wrong between us, love. It was the first time he called me love since that day with E, and the word tugged at my heart. I'm sorry about everything I did. But in begging you, love, please forgive me. Please, please. I turned my gaze back to him to see him on his knees before me. head bowed and hands clasped as if he were praying while he chanted. I remained silent for a moment as my heart broke to see his fragile state. "Are you not going to talk to me again?" he hesitantly asked in a gentle voice as if he knew I was close to breaking. And I did break. My voice croaked as I spoke. "You can't just say you're sorry and expect everything to return to how it was." I turned to rush into the bathroom, but Thane grabbed my flush against his chest. "I'm sorry, Emery. I'm sorry with every fiber in my body, and I don't want this to break us. I'm truly and deeply sorry, and you have no idea how much I regret not believing you. Take as much time as you need, but I will apologize to you every single day for the rest of my life, because the only thing to be good at when I'm with you is messing up. But don't leave me, love. Please." I turned around and he stood before me with glistening eyes. It broke me to see him like this, but he did the exact thing to me. "I was only trying to protect the pack. I was trying to protect you." He nodded. "I should have known. My little warrior." I felt like crumbling, but before I could fall apart before him, I stepped away and walked straight into the bathroom. Behind the safety of the door, I broke down. I knew Thane could hear me, but at least he couldn't see me. I felt bile rising to my throat and quickly rushed and bent over the toilet. As soon as my stomach started to empty, I felt my hair being brushed back and a soothing hand rubbing my back. When everything came out, I flushed the toilet and picked myself up off the ground and walked towards the sink, but Thane continued to stand there watching me with an unreadable expression. I rinsed my mouth, and when I was finished, Thane blocked me from walking out the door. "My mother didn't say that you've been vomiting. How long have you been throwing up for?" he asked with a startled expression. I hesitated before I answered. "At first it was just the day you killed Ian, but 2 days ago it came back. It's been 5 days since we..." He trailed off, and it was as if he was calculating something in his mind. "Since we what?" I asked in confusion. "We have to get to Dr. Adler," was his only words before he grabbed my hand and pulled me behind him. "Have you been eating properly? If an apple a day keeps the doctor away, then yes, my appetite's been perfect." I rolled my eyes. He spun around and gave me a horrified expression. "Why haven't you been eating? Besides not being able to keep anything down." I've just not felt like eating." I stumbled over my words. "What about you? By the looks of it, you haven't been eating either, even though we were out." I was worried about him. He just shrugged. "I couldn't eat knowing that you were angry at me. That, and I knew you weren't eating properly, so I couldn't either." His words hit hard, but if he'd just let me stay home, we would have at least been together. "I'm not going anywhere with you." I simply switched topics. "Either you comply or I'm going to carry you to Adler, even if I have to walk there." His eyes were set on me in determination. "Guess I'll just call and to make you leave." I was about to call her, but Thane smacked at me. "My mom's not home, love. You can't force me to go. Watch me." He moved in to pick me up, but I held my hands up. Wait. I'm honestly fine. I don't need the doctor." Thane of course ignored me as he bent down and put my shoes on my feet for me. "I can do it myself, you know." I tried to get my feet away from him, but he kept his hand on my leg, and if I pulled away I would have fallen. "You look like you lost 10 pounds, Emery." He scolded before he grabbed my hand and tugged me out of the bedroom. "Hey, I'm not going anywhere with you." I stopped in my tracks. "Nothing's wrong with me. I've just been feeling nauseous from seeing a dead body." "Enthusiasm, I don't think it's the dead body, sweetheart," he said, and that took me aback. "Liz and I appreciate you trying to make it up to me, but I'm fine, Thane." I insisted, and he went to scoop me into his arms, but I stepped away and shook my head before walking down the staircase. "I'm going to find your father and let him talk some sense into you. Good luck trying, because he isn't home either," he said from behind me. But before I could say another word, he gently but quickly picked me up bridal style and whisked me out the front door and into his Mustang. He drove his car here. Seems like he was planning on me to forgive him and go back home. He buckled me in, and before I could protest, shut the door. I tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The child safety lock was on. This idiot. Thane quickly slipped into the driver's seat, started the car, and peeled away from the house. "This is considered kidnapping," I growled at him, taking me by surprise. He gave me half-hearted grin. Wouldn't be the first time, love. Plus the last time turned out great for the both us. Until you decided to take things into your own hands. I quietly mumbled, and as the little smile fell from his face, I faced out the window. After that he tried to engage me in conversation, but I was having none of it. Lucky we made it to the pack house in no time, considering Thane was driving at a snail's pace. I missed the pack house dearly since I hadn't been there since the day of our wedding. Why are we going to see Adler? I'm not sick. I told Thane again as he ushered me to the infirmary. You're not sick. He confirmed. I know I'm not. And if I was, my super health would kick in. I rolled my eyes. Luna? Adler asked in confusion as Thane and I stepped into the infirmary. Hey doc. I greeted him and thankfully he smiled back, so I knew he was one of the few that didn't trust me anymore. It is nice to see you back, Luna, but may I ask why the unexpected visit? He questioned as he looked at Thane. I think she's pregnant. Thane muttered and my heart nearly flew out of my chest from his words. I wait. Tu es agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You think I'm pregnant? No way. I shook my head in denial. No freaking way. It's only been like 6 days. That's way too early to be able to tell. This can't possibly be true. All the vomiting was just because of my bad dreams. Seeing a dead body and the stress. Although there was a high chance that I may be pregnant because Thane and I were unprotected. The test wouldn't be able to accurately tell this early, and the sickness wouldn't have shown up either. Would it? Emery. Adler gave me a knowing glance. For humans it usually takes 2 weeks for the fetus to be detected and for the pregnancy to officially begin. But I felt a but coming. But for werewolves, the fetus usually develops in a few days to the point of pregnancy tests being able to detect it. The rate at which the baby grows in the womb is faster than that of a human, which is why a pregnancy only takes 5 months. So it's typical for the fetus to start developing from day 5. Adler explained, and I felt the anxiety coming on strong. Just breathe, love. Breathe. Thane held on to me and his touch alone soothed me. I really missed this guy. As I managed to control my breathing, Adler fetched an needle and a pregnancy test. I will take a blood test to be 100% sure, but you can use the test to find out faster, he said, handing me the pink box before guiding me to sit down on one of the beds so that he could draw the blood from my arm. While he ran the blood test, I walked back to the hall with the test in hand and Thane following me like a lost puppy. When I walked into one of the half bathrooms on the 1st floor, Thane was going to follow me in. You can't come in here. I scolded. Why not? He asked in confusion. Just stay put. I rolled my eyes and closed the door with the lock as I took the test. I placed the used test on the sink as I washed my hands and opened the door to let Thane in. I sat on the sink's countertop and anxiously waited for the 15 minutes to go by. Do you want the baby? Thane suddenly asked and pulled me out of my nervous, shaking feet state. Do I what? I asked in shock. In angry with you, Thane. Not my child. I suddenly felt overprotective of the possible child within me. Our child. And you didn't answer the question. The pack needs another alpha for the ritual. But do you want the baby? He hesitantly asked. Well, if you treat our kid anything like you treated me the last few days, then maybe HES better off without you. I bit out and regretted it as soon as the words came out. Seeing his face fall, I quickly backtracked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. No, you're right. I treated you like you didn't matter or care about the pack, and I deserved that. I'm not right, Thane. You're an amazingly incredible guy, but you really messed up. Then tell me how to fix it. He begged, and I looked up to see his guilt-ridden face. Please. I don't know how you can. Emery. He stepped closer to me, and when I didn't recoil back, he came closer and stood between my knees. We just got married. This can't destroy us, baby. Please. I swear to the moon goddess that I love you, and I know you were trying to protect the pack, but I need you to speak to me so we can overcome this. If you knew I was trying to protect the pack, then why did you blame me? Because as I said before, I needed someone else to blame instead of myself for not protecting the pack. As the alpha, I'm supposed to protect everyone, but I didn't. Our Luna was protecting us all along without us knowing. Well, you can't just blame me for something you couldn't control. I'm your wife and Luna. You can't throw this kind of stuff in my face without listening to my side of thing. I growled out. I know that. I cut him off immediately. Do you? If you knew that Thane, then it wouldn't have taken you 5 days to come back to me. I yelled at him. Just as he was about to say something, the timer on his watch beeped. I gently pushed Thane back so I could hop off the counter and then gingerly picked up the pregnancy test. There it was. 2 clearly defined red lines that stated I'm pregnant. I slowly turned to Thane, who looked at me expectantly, and despite my anger towards him and our ongoing argument, I couldn't help a smile that grew on my face. I'm pregnant. I grinned. I blamed the mood swings on the pregnancy, to be honest. Then S' face lit up in pure amazement and joy as he picked me up and gently twirled me around in the little bathroom. He set me down and cupped my cheeks. You're pregnant. He looked down at my stomach and bent so his face was right at my stomach and his hands on my waist. We're going to have a kid. I nodded with a grin and suddenly felt a wave of emotions wash over me at an S reaction at the fact that we were really going to become parents. Tears welled up in my eyes and I was embarrassed at my sudden change in emotions and wiped the drops away. Hey, what's wrong? Thane asked in alarm as he cut my cheeks in his hands. I shook my head but gave no answer. I saw him gulp as a sudden look of anguish fell on his face and I felt his anxiety. Do you not want the baby? I looked at him in shock and found my voice as I gripped his arms. What? No, Thane. No, that's not it. Then what is it? Is it me? Should I give you a minute? I shook my head again and cupped his cheeks in my hand. I don't want you to go anywhere, Thane. I want this baby with you. He gave me a quizzical look as I paused. But only if we get through this now. I don't want us fighting anymore. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We were both wrong in the situation, and my limbs still a bit angry with you. I don't want to jump into this new chapter of our lives with so much space between us. I tried to make him understand. Then let me make it up to you, he said with hopeful eyes. Let me start with the beginning. I would love that. But maybe we could get you something to eat, then change locations and tell Adler the good news. I giggled as I realized we were still squished in the little bathroom and led us both out. After we told Adler the good news, we walked to the kitchen. Thane quickly grabbed some lunch for the both of us. He insisted on feeding me and my appetite was slowly coming back. Then again, I was eating for 2. After I made sure Thane ate as well, we headed out to the backyard and I told Thane everything that had happened between Jake and I. And he didn't look surprised by my revelations. Maybe because he really knew all along that I didn't mean any harm to the pack. Did he hurt you? Was the nurse's first question after I explained what happened. He bruised my arms from gripping me too tightly and the pink sky use all on my palm was from where he cut me. I tried to calm him down as I could see him tense up in anger. I'm going to kill him for even touching you. I know that whatever I do wouldn't stop you from reconsidering that decision. Do you want me to? He suddenly asked. I gave it a thought before I answered him truthfully. You know I'm against violence of any sort and I still don't agree with what you did with Ian because he was manipulated by Jake. But that doesn't mean I don't agree with your decision with Jake. Being a werewolf. I understand that it is in your nature to kill, and now that someone is threatening the pack's secret and every owner's safety, even our little baby P here. I touched my stomach in protection. I know that it's in our best interest for him to be silenced. My morals are screaming at me, but Jake will never stay quiet. I've known him all my life, and since he could talk he wanted to hunt the beast. So you agree with me? He asked, confused. I can't let anyone get hurt, Thane. Especially you. I want him gone for our pack and our child's safety. I understand, sweetheart. You don't need to explain it to me. He put his arm around my shoulder and pulled me into him, and I happily reveled in his heat, enjoyed his comfort and took in his scent. I honestly didn't tell you before because Jake has a girl who knows everything about us. If she knows that I can heal, then maybe someone from the pack is spying for her. Or maybe it's a rogue. I mused. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Thane uttered. She wouldn't do that, would she? I looked at Thane in horror. He simply nodded. Oh, she would. After I kicked her out. Her perfect revenge would be telling the humans about us. But she's a werewolf too. She'll just be putting herself in danger. She could fake being a human, and it's not like she's in the pack anymore, so she wouldn't be in immediate danger. I thought it over. I guess it would make sense because no one from the pack would sell us out. I guess Jake's hooking up with enemy and doesn't even realize it. I snorted. We don't know for sure it's her yet. But I'm sure it is. They're both our enemies now. We just have to get to them before they get to us. And once I get my hands on both of them, Thane said angrily. I placed a kiss on both of his hands before he wrapped me back in his grasps. As long as you stay safe is all that matter. He sighed contentedly before whispering. It felt like ages since I held you. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you before. You believe me. More than anything else. I'm coming to you first if anything else happens. It took me making a grave mistake to learn that. But I know now, and I promise you that I will never not listen to you. You'll forever be sorry. He kissed my forehead. Thank you for at least listening now, and I should have told you about him that day. I looked up at him. I understand why you did it. I cut him off before he could continue. No, I didn't tell you, and it still blew up in my face. So if this is going to work, then we need complete open communication, which means listening to each other no matter what and telling each other everything. And I'm sorry that I hadn't told you earlier. But you shouldn't be because you took initiative and didn't do any wrong. I should have told you when Jay came into the pack. I should have warned you about what he was planning and let you help make the decision instead of handling it on my own. I'm sorry I didn't tell you before, and I'm sorry I endangered everyone else because of being secretive. But we're a partnership and we have to trust each other and help each other make decisions instead of dealing with it on our own. I justified. Thane nodded his head and grinned. Look at us resolving issues like a happily married couple. That's because we are. I kissed his cheek. Forgive me. Only if you forgive me first, he whispered. I'm still partially angry at you, but consider it done. I smiled and felt a sudden liberation as the anger and resentment towards each other faded away. A moment of silence passed between us before Thane muttered, We haven't been this close since our wedding night. I know, and I really missed you. I missed you to love. It was killing me not being next to you. Then why didn't you come back to me earlier? Because I thought you were going to kill me after what I did to that human, and I just wanted to give you some time. That's why you sent me away. When my father came over and blew my ears off, I told him that I loved you so much it hurts. I gripped onto him tighter as he spoke, but you gave me back your ring and I didn't know what to do. I was going to set everything straight that night, but then you had that was angry at myself. He told me to give you some space, so I asked him if you could stay at their house since it's the furthest from the pack house and the side of the forest that Jake will show up from. It was a way of both keeping you safe and giving you time. I waited for you to tell me that you loved me that night. I waited the morning when I left to go to your parents' house for you to pull me out of the car and demand an explanation. But you didn't. And I should have. I love you, Emery Blackwood, and nothing can change that. Nothing. He kissed my forehead. I love you to Thane Blackwood. I hugged him tighter. He slid something out of his pocket and took my left hand in his own. He slid my ring onto my finger and I felt as if a part of me was restored. I'm sorry I gave it back. I looked at him. Just promise me you wouldn't return it ever again. Always leave it there on your finger. I looked at the piece of jewelry and hugged it close to my chest. We wrapped our arms back around each other as we basked in the peaceful silence. I was restless without you. My bottom lip trembled as I recall my sleepless nights without Thane. My nightmares were pretty bad without you near me. I didn't get a wink of sleep either. I would shift and sit in the forest in the backyard of my parents' house. I would hear you every night calling out to me, and it physically pained me not to come to you, but after assuming you were dreaming of the human's dead body and you kicked me out of our room that night, I didn't want to upset you. I made my mom wake you up every night. Had I known it was that bad, I would have been there in a flash. He explained, and I could hear the guilt in his voice. I tightened my arms around him. I heard you in the forest howling every night. Just promise me you would always come back to bed even if we fight. But tell me what the dream was about. He coerced me. I could feel myself hurting and getting terrified of just the thought of the dream. It was of you and Jake. I don't want to talk about it in details, but it always ended with you dying in my arms and Jake being your killer. It's all right, sweetheart. Thane brushed a few straight hairs away from my cheeks. He can never get to us. He will never hurt me. You or anyone else. Not even our little P. He smiled as he used my nickname for our baby. I know. But it just felt so real every time, and I could never get to you in time to save you. Well, I'm here, sweetheart, and you're stuck with me. He teased, but I just clung to him a little tighter because even though Jake cowled and get to him, he was still out there. Just as I was about to say something, we heard an ear-splitting howl of pain echo before us. I felt Thane tense under me as I looked at him in panic. What's happening? Someone's been shot, was his only words as he quickly got up with me. He pushed me towards the pack house as he looked towards the forest. Who is it? I asked in fear. He looked at me in despair. Go back into the pack house and don't come outside until I come back. And don't under any circumstances. Come after me. He quickly turned away from me and ran a few meters away and shifted. Thane, I called out as he speeded into the forest. Listen to me this once, Emery, and go inside now. He mind-linked and I could feel the control of the Alpha's command battling me as I hesitantly walked back into the pack house where drive. Adler quickly rushed past me as he went behind Thane. What the hell was happening? Chapter 33, Dead Wolf. Just as Adler shifted into his wolf form, a few pack members came out from the pack house behind me and escorted me to the living room. Everyone who was in the pack house was all gathered around in the space with nervous expressions. Bailey was at her mother's house and Delilah was teaching at the school we had in the pack, but Caroline was on patrol duty and I prayed that she was all right since I didn't know exactly what was going on. Everyone in the room looked a bit worried, but no one said a word. Does anyone know what's going on? I asked them all. We aren't sure yet, Luna. One of the males who guarded the entrance to the living room spoke up. We only know that a wolf was shot, but the Alpha hasn't given us any information yet. He only directed us to make sure everyone is safe and secured, hence the reason why everyone in the house is gathered together. That if someone was shot, then I should be out there helping them. I stated as I tried to exit the room, but the few guards there blocked me. I'm sorry, Luna, but we can't do that. It's the Alpha's orders since you are expecting and he wants you both to be safe. The guard mind-linked to me since Thane and I didn't get the opportunity to announce to the pack about my pregnancy. We barely had time to process it ourselves. Thank you, was my only response as I faced everyone else. No news yet, everyone, but the Alpha thought it best for us to stick together, and that's what we can do for now to ensure no one else gets hurt. Everyone nodded and fell into their own conversations about what was going on. Luna, come sit. One of pack members, whose name is Maria, ushered me over to the empty seat next to her. I gave her an appreciative smile as I walked over and took a seat. You're expecting, aren't you? Maria mind-linked to me. How do you know that? I asked in surprise. You're touching your stomach in protection. She pointed it out and I realized that I was subconsciously doing just that. I am. I revealed with a smile and then noticed that she was sporting a baby bump the size of Bailey's, which meant she was just over a month pregnant or about a human month pregnant. Well, congratulations, Luna. She mind-linked to me with a sincere smile. And congratulations to you as well. Maybe in the future our kids will be friends. The thought alone of a little Thane running around made my heart warm. They sure will be, she said happily as she distracted me from worrying about what was happening. Before she could delve further into the conversation, however, I heard the back door open loudly and the guards moved away from the entryway to the living room and revealed Thane with a bloody t-shirt. He sported a poker face and showed no emotions, but just from being near him, I knew how he felt. Que my agent extraordinaire, Marilyn Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Nervous in the slightest hint of fear. Thane. My breath caught in my throat as I felt his emotions wish over me. What happened? But he didn't answer audibly. He mind-linked everyone and they all gasped at what just took place. Atticus is dead. He was shot with a silver bullet by a human hunter. was then S-words as he looked at me. Along with everyone else who got that message. I was in shock. I first met Atticus the day I went into the crypt, and now he was dead by the hands of my own people. I got off the couch and rushed into the nurse's arms. He grabbed onto me and pulled us both out of the room and into his office. He settled us both on the sofa in his office as the tears welled into my ears. This is all my fault. I whimpered. He used his thumbs and brushed the tears off my face. No, it isn't. The only person to blame here is that human Jake and whoever is working with him. If I had told you everything before, then this would have still happened. No matter when you told me, Emery. We couldn't have seen this coming. Thane said, but I could hear the pain in his voice. I wiped the tears off from my tears. Why didn't you mind link me? I could have saved him. He gave me a sympathetic glance. You're pregnant now, love. You have to keep yourself and the baby safe, and healing someone wouldn't help that. But, no, I don't want you healing anyone until after you make our child, and when you're fully recovered after that. Promise me you wouldn't. I could see how scared he was and had no choice but to agree with him. Fine. I grumbled. Good. He shifted me off him slightly so that he can pull his shirt off since it was covered in Atticus blood. What about his family? His wife and daughter knows already. They're both grief-stricken, but at least they have each other. I should go meet them. I said, getting off the sofa, but Thane stopped me. Wait, there's more. He hesitated. I raised my eyebrows in confusion. What is it? Was someone else hurt? No. He shook his head and took in a breath. The guy who shot Atticus. He left a note. Thane pulled out a piece of paper from his shorts that was smeared in blood. What does it say? I asked dubiously. Thane unfolded the note and handed it to me. I stared at the writing and knew it was from Jake. To Emery and her dog. Consider this my declaration of war. I gasped at what I read and looked up at my mate. Just continue reading. I looked back at the letter and read. After you killed Ian, I thought I would surprise you and your little cult. I would have killed you right before your mate's eyes and then drag him back to town and show the entire village what vile creature you've been living with. Thane let out a harsh growl at that, and I could feel the anger emanating off of him. But my mind was clouded in anger at that time, so I gave it a few days, and let's just say the clouds has dispersed, and I know what I'm going to do to you when I see you again. You, Emery, didn't have the dignity to protect your own friend Ian, so I'm not going to spare anyone in your pack. I'm going to kill every last wolf until you and your dog are the only two left. I promise you. So prepare for war, Emery Aiken. They'll be there right with you 5 days from now with a gun to your dog's head. I started to see red when I read that, and howled help the sudden urge to kill Jake if that meant protecting Thane. Consider this my warning, as I want a fight from your guard dogs. How else would it be fun for my guys and I? And it was signed off with the words love. Jake. I looked at Thane with a worrying expression as fright took over my entire body. He got one thing wrong. You're Emery Blackwood. He gave me an amused smile in the harrowing situation we were in. Thane, this note says war. I gulped. We can handle them, he said with such assurance that he could have tricked me. But they have guns, Thane. Silver bullets. I exclaimed. And we have strength and super speed. Trust me, love. We could handle this. One of them just took out Atticus. How can you be so sure? I was feeling another panic attack coming on, and all this stress wasn't helping me or the baby. Thane grabbed onto my hand and pulled my body to sit on his lap as I placed my head in the crook of his neck. Relax, love. We could handle this. We will get through this. The pack and all of us. You just need to have faith in us. Even if the odds are against us. I can't have anyone else getting hurt. I whispered. And no one would. He pulled my face to look at him. We need to be brave and show courage to our pack. If they sense the slightest fear in us, then that could be our downfall. We need to be strong so that they are brave enough to fight. But I can't, Thane. They could kill us. My voice broke. Do you trust me? His eyes held a tornado of emotions. I gave him a baffled look. Of course I trust you. Then trust me when I say that this would be all right. He lowered his head and pecked my lips. I need you to promise me that you trust the pack to handle this. I know the pack is strong, but I wouldn't be able to bear it if anyone else gets hurt. I would see to it that no one does. What now then? Now we go tell everyone in the pack about what's going to happen, and then you have to tell us everything you know about Jake and the hunters. I can do that. I nodded as Thane pulled us to our feet. He went to his desk and grabbed 2 clean t-shirts. He pulled one on and walked back to me and took my shirt off since it was messed up in blood from when I hugged him. He stuffed me in another one of his shirt and I was drowning in it again, but it felt comforting, which was a feeling I needed more of. Let's go, lead our pack, Luna. He opened the door for me. Before I walked out, I placed my hand on an cheek. I wouldn't let him hurt you. He wouldn't be able to lay a hand on your hair. Thane smiled at my protectiveness and placed his arm around my waist and kissed my forehead. I know you will protect me. Ne? When Thane and I met with everyone from the pack and told them about our impending doom, they were first frightful, especially with the sudden news of Atticus' death. But with Thane and I showing a strong and powerful front, they all showed the courage and bravery we needed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I told everyone about the hunters, which wasn't much. All I knew is that there were a little over of them, but I wasn't entirely sure. But I knew that the pack of over 800 wolves clearly outnumbered them, even though most of them were children or seniors. Besides that, I knew they wield a powerful weapon, silver bullets. Thane had Nina, the woman who designed my wedding dress, designed some bulletproof vests for everyone in the pack. She made it so that they could wear it in wolf form and be less vulnerable to getting shot by a silver bullet. Nina and everyone else who could use a sewing machine got to that as quickly as possible, since we needed them for the guards who ran border patrol. Though Lucas, Thane and just about everyone else I knew trained every day to prepare for the war. Everyone except for the children, elderly and pregnant women, joined forces for the fight. Thane had to ensure that they were ready, and I wanted to help out, but he made sure I stayed put in his parents' house since it was the furthest from the side of the forest that led to Fairburn. So Thane joined me in his old bedroom at his parents' house. Thane and his mother made sure I was secured at all time in the house and that I didn't lift a finger since I pregnant. Luckily I had Bailey with me since Lucas made sure she didn't do anything as well. It was stressful knowing that I couldn't help, but I knew Thane would be distracted if I tried to help, so I followed his orders for now. The only time I ever saw him though was in the night, when he finished training everyone for the day, and by then he falls asleep instantly due to exhaustion. I was concerned that he was pushing himself far beyond his limit, but I knew he wouldn't listen to me if I told him to slow down. And that's how the next 5 days went by before Jake and his army of silver bullet-equipped hunters arrived. Night before the war, this was an blanket when he was a baby, and handed me a soft baby blue blanket with some stars printed on. This is perfect for our little one, I said, hugging Anne as she sat next to me on the sofa in the living room. I thought you'd like to have something of the nest for the baby. She smiled. You read my mind. I ran my hand through the fabric of the blanket before I looked up at the clock and saw that it was almost 1 in the morning. I'll be back home in no time, and said to me just as I heard the front door open, and in came Thane and his father Carson. They were both covered in dirt and scratches and looked worse for the wear. Thane, I immediately went to him and went to wrap my arms around him, but he held my wrists and prevented me from doing such. In dirty, he crinkled his nose. Never stopped me before. I rolled my eyes at him and he looked at what was in my hands. I don't think you want that to get dirty, he pointed out. I nodded. You're right. So I rested the blanket on the back of the sofa and wrapped him up in my arms. I swear you've worn yourself out before the morning. I had to ensure everyone was prepared. He mumbled into my hair. I pulled back slightly and looked up at him. And are they? He held a determined look in his eyes which sent a wave of assurance over me. They're trained. Fast and the best fighters a pack could have. Take it from the words of an old alpha kiddo. The Blood Moon pack is a force to be reckoned with, Carson assured me before he and turned in for the night. Thane also pulled me to our room where we took baths before getting settled for the night. Well, as settled as we can be before the storm that was approaching. I told you to go to bed without me, Thane said as he lay beside me and pulled me into his arms. Would you be able to sleep without me next to you? I questioned. Point taken. He chuckled for the first time in what felt like ages. Now tell me, how's our little dude? He turned to face me and placed his palm over my stomach. I smiled at Then's content expression, happy now that his dad's here for the night. And how's his mum? Then's eyes flashed open with a serious expression, as good as she can be in the circumstances, but Shesin. I brushed my fingers through Then's hair. Nothing bad is going to happen, love. Thane said with such conviction that I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't. I had a terrible feeling in my gut and I couldn't shake it. You don't know that for sure. I whispered, but he caught it. Nothing's going to hurt you, Emery. You or the baby. As long as I'm here. Nothing's going to take you away from me, he proclaimed. And what about you? I exclaimed. You'll be safe here with the others, but what about you? My voice cracked at the last sentence. I can't protect you out there, and I can't lose you, Thane. I can't even take you away from my side. I buried my face in his chest as one of his hands stroked my hair and his other wrapped protectively around me. Not even the moon goddess can take me away from you. Our little P, you and I are all going to fine. Nothing will tear us apart. He comforted me. I gazed up at him. If you don't come back to me in one piece, I'm going to paint your Jeep pink. His face contorted into a painful expression. Not the Jeep, love. The Mustang too. So you better keep your promises. Protective 1 minute and sassy the next. He laughed. Pregnancy hormones. He rolled his eyes at me. I think it's time for you to go to sleep. I don't think I could sleep. Plus I need a few more minutes with you before tomorrow. We've barely spoken in what feels like ages. I don't think I could sleep either, to be honest. But I promise as soon as tomorrow is over, I'll spend every minute of the rest of my life with you. Not every minute. You can be quite annoying at times. I poked his cheek. He playfully glared at me. Is that so? Before I knew it, he was above me and started to tickle me. Gently fiaten, gently thought, seeing as there was a baby in the mix. After he made me laugh, I tapped out. Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Stop. He finally let me go and resumed our cutting position. Good. That's sorted. You're right. You're only annoying 10% of the time. He reached his hand out to tickle me again, but I cut in. Wait. I'm listening. He gave me a curious glance. I bit my lip before I said. I was thinking. Oh, that's never a good thing. He grumbled playfully and I flicked his chest. Hey, that hurt. I cleared my throat. As I was saying, I was thinking what our little P's name will be. Then's eyes lit up in excitement at that. Something starting with T. How about something starting with E? It doesn't matter, love. Once he has your eyes and smile, he'll be the happiest man on earth. He grinned. I pecked Then's lips in appreciation. I'd rather see a mini Thane running around. Thane Jr. I like it. No way. That's not what I meant. Thane smirked heavily. I don't know. It sort of has a ring to it. I rolled my eyes at him. Maybe Eros. How about Toby? Or Evan? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He kicked in. We're not naming our kid after a superhero. I finalized. Why not? Because that's like naming him Spider-Man. Thane smiled at me. I don't think that's the same thing, love. No, Thor. Well, see. Thane chuckled. And for the next half hour we went back and forth with baby names before we both fell asleep before the approaching doomsday.